Welcome back to another deep dive. We're here to break down complex topics, give you the essential knowledge, and hopefully help you get informed quickly and thoroughly.
That's the plan. And today we're building directly on our last discussions about AI-driven smart contracts.
Yeah, if you've been following along, you know we've already looked at the basics, what smart contracts are, some, frankly, jaw-dropping uses in finance, supply chains, even healthcare.
Indeed. But as these incredibly powerful tools, now, supercharged with AI, move from being just interesting tech concepts to actual workplace and societal realities, well, the big questions start bubbling up, don't they?
They really do. Questions like, are they genuinely fair? For everyone involved, how safe are they really from, unintended consequences or even deliberate manipulation?
Maybe the biggest one. Who's actually watching over these things, these autonomous agreements that can operate across borders, often without any traditional human gatekeepers.
Exactly. So today, that's where we're heading. We're shifting gears to tackle those conversations head on. The ones maybe people are a bit hesitant to start,
Like the really deep ethical considerations.
Precisely. And the regulatory landscape, which is, well, let's just say it's evolving rapidly. Plus, that constant balancing act between innovating super fast and, setting up the essential rules of the road.
It's not just about the code anymore, is it? This deep dive is really about the real-world impact on people's lives.
Yeah, your jobs, your privacy, your access to things like loans or insurance, maybe even your basic legal rights.
So we've mapped it out for you. First up, we'll get stuck into those ethical implications. What are the real consequences, maybe the hidden risks, for ordinary people when contracts become automated like this?
Right. Then we'll take that deep dive into the regulatory side, what's actually happening legally, both here in the U.S. and internationally. Who's trying to get a handle on this and how are they doing it? Quite a mix.
A patchwork, you could say. And after that, we'll tackle that tension, that sort of tug of war. How do you keep innovating at lightning speed without cutting corners? Or, accidentally breaking laws you didn't even know existed yet?
We'll look at the practical strategies companies are actually using right now to try and navigate this.
So whether you're deep into tech, a business leader trying to figure this all out, or honestly, just someone who cares about their data in this digital age.
These are conversations that really affect all of us, so stick with us as we get right into it. Because, with great power
comes great responsibility. Couldn't have said it better. Let's kick things off by plunging into what I sometimes call the ethical quagmire of AI-driven smart contracts.
Quagmire. That sounds suitably messy.
Well, it is. Because look, on the surface, the idea sounds amazing, right? Self-executing agreements, less human error, everything transparently recorded on a blockchain. It promises efficiency, trust.
Less paperwork.
Exactly. But then you introduce AI, the dynamic learning, adapting capabilities of artificial intelligence. And suddenly the implications just explode. It's not just about code, it's a whole web of consequences.
That's a really important point. The fundamental shift from what we traditionally think of as a contract. I mean, historically, contracts are static, right? You sign them, file them away. They don't change.
Right. Fixed documents.
But AI turns smart contracts into something alive almost. Dynamic entities. What does that actually mean, though, in practice?
It means they can genuinely evolve. Based on real-time data feeds, they can interpret complex situations, make quite sophisticated decisions, all without a human stepping in. We're not just talking simple, if this, then that's automation anymore.
No, this is like a contract that can reason, or at least simulate reasoning, and adapt.
And it gets even wilder when AI starts negotiating for you in real time.
Yeah.
Imagine you're trying to book, a complex trip or secure the best terms for a major supply deal.
Instead of days of back and forth emails.
Exactly. An AI-driven smart contract could be analyzing market conditions, crunching thousands of data points, adjusting prices, delivery times, specific clauses, all in fractions of a second. It's an efficiency level humans just can't compete with.
Okay, that's genuinely mind-bending. The speed, the scale. Wow. But, here comes the big but, doesn't it?
Always but.
If that AI contract makes a decision, maybe in that negotiation, that goes wrong, or has some unforeseen negative consequence for you, who's on the hook?
That's the million-dollar question. Accountability. Is it the developer who wrote the initial code? The company that deployed it? Or, and this is where it gets really weird, do we start talking about the AI itself being accountable?
But can you even hold an algorithm legally responsible? Traditional liability law wasn't built for autonomous agents making deals.
Not at all. Legal systems are really scrambling to catch up with this. And that accountability problem, it It gets even sharper when you think about the impact on individual rights.
Yeah, this isn't just abstract legal theory. These contracts could decide if you get a job, a mortgage, an insurance payout.
Fundamental things. And the major concern here is algorithmic bias. It's a huge issue. AI learns from historical data. That's how it works.
But what if that historical data is, well, biased, reflecting existing societal prejudices or past discrimination?
Then the AI doesn't just learn those biases, it often amplifies them. It bakes unfairness right into the automated decision-making.
And we've seen this happen, haven't we? It's not just theoretical. The Amazon recruitment tool example is probably the most famous one.
Infamous, maybe. Yeah, that AI was designed to help screen resumes, make hiring more efficient. But it quickly learned to downgrade resumes from women.
Why? Just because the historical hiring data it trained on was mostly male, especially for tech roles.
Precisely. It learned that male candidates were historically preferred, so it penalized things like mentioning women's chess club or attending women's colleges. It just mirrored the past bias. A stark warning.
And it's not just hiring, is it? This pops up everywhere.
Everywhere. Voice recognition systems that struggle with minority accents because the training data wasn't diverse. Lending algorithms that might deny loans to certain groups based on proxies for race or zip code, even if race isn't an explicit factor.
Wow. Even in the justice system, potentially.
Chillingly, yes. There have been concerns about AI tools used for sentencing recommendations, potentially leading to harsher outcomes for some populations based on biased historical data. The danger is automating discrimination at scale, embedding unfairness right into the contracts that run our lives.
Automating discrimination at scale. That's a really sobering thought. And it connects directly to this idea of the black box effect, doesn't it?
Absolutely, the black box problem. Imagine you apply for something crucial, that mortgage, an insurance claim, maybe even a vital social service. And the system, the AI-driven contract, just spits out no.
We're just a rejection code. No explanation, nothing.
Exactly. How do you challenge that? How do you even begin to figure out why you were rejected? Was it a mistake? Was it biased? Is there information you could provide to change the outcome?
You're completely in the dark. It feels fundamentally unfair. How can you contest something if you don't know the reason behind it?
It's a massive hurdle. This opacity, this lack of justification. It makes it incredibly difficult for individuals to fight back against potentially wrong or unfair decisions. It undermines basic due process.
Which is why transparency and explainability are becoming such huge buzzwords in AI ethics and regulation now.
They have to be. There's a real global push for rules around this. You see it strongly in the EU with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It actually includes something often called a right to explanation.
What does that mean in practice?
It basically means you shouldn't be subject to decisions based only on automated processing, especially if they significantly affect you, unless you get meaningful information about how that decision was reached. It's about getting a peek inside that black box, understanding the logic.
Okay, so bias and the black box are huge ethical issues. What else is in this quagmire?
Well, there's another major tension. A real clash between data privacy rights and a core feature of blockchain technology itself, immutability.
Right. Smart contracts run on blockchains, and blockchains are designed so data, once it's recorded and verified, is basically permanent. You can't easily change or delete it, that's the point, for security and trust.
Exactly. It's a feature, not a bug. But, and here's the clash, how does that square with privacy rights? Like the right to be forgotten that's enshrined in regulations like GDPR.
Yeah, the right to ask or for your personal data to be erased. If your sensitive information, medical details for an insurance contract, maybe financial history for a loan is baked into an immutable smart contract.
How do you pull it back? How do you erase it? How do you even correct it if it's wrong? It becomes almost technically impossible with standard blockchain design. It's digital permanence versus the right to control your data.
That's a serious conflict. It feels like a real double-edged sword. Immutability gives you transparency, which is good for tracking bias maybe, or proving transactions.
But it's potentially a privacy nightmare. Once your data is on there, part of that contract, it's incredibly hard to claw back. And think long-term.
Who might access that data years down the line as AI analysis gets even better?
Precisely. And the temptation is always for AI to want more data to make smarter decisions, right?
Yeah.
Which just deepens the privacy risk. Who owns that data? Who can analyze it? Who might misuse it? The right to be forgotten, and standard blockchains just don't play well together.
Okay, so we have accountability, bias, transparency, privacy. Any other major ethical considerations?
There's the big societal one, job displacement, and economic inequality.
Ah, the automation question.
Right. AI-driven smart contracts are incredibly efficient by design. That efficiency means they can automate huge chunks of routine, rule-based work historically done by humans.
Like paralegals reviewing documents, compliance officers checking transactions, insurance adjusters processing claims.
Exactly those kinds of roles. Also, certain administrative functions in supply chains. Many could be significantly impacted, leading to potentially large-scale job displacement in sectors that rely heavily on human oversight for these tasks.
But the argument is always that new jobs will be created, right? More high-tech jobs.
And that's undoubtedly true. New roles will emerge: AI ethics auditors, blockchain developers, data scientists specializing in this area. But here's the rub. The skills needed for those new jobs are often very different from the skills of the people whose jobs are being automated.
Skill mismatch.
Exactly. The training, the reskilling needed is significant. It costs time and money, and it's not always accessible to everyone. So there's a real risk this could actually worsen economic inequality, widening the gap between those who can adapt and those who get left behind by this wave of automation. It needs careful policy responses.
So putting it all together, the ethical challenge isn't just, can we build these things? It's, how do we build them right? How do we make sure we're not baking in unfairness, invading privacy, or causing huge societal disruption without a plan?
That's the crux of it: responsible innovation. And the good news is, people are working on solutions. It's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, let's hear about the solutions then. What's being done to tackle these risks?
Well, new techniques and tools are actively being developed. For instance, there's a lot of work on bias auditing. These are sophisticated methods to detect and then hopefully mitigate unfair outcomes in AI systems, both before you deploy them and while they're running.
Trying to catch the bias before it does damage. What else?
There's some really exciting progress in cryptography, particularly with zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPPs.
ZKPs. I've heard of those. Can you give us the simple version?
Okay, the classic analogy is proving you're old enough to buy a drink without showing your actual ID, your name, address, birth date. Zero-knowledge proofs let you cryptographically prove something is true, say, this transaction meets the criteria, or I have sufficient funds, without revealing any of the sensitive underlying data that proves it.
Wow, okay. So you can verify things on the blockchain without putting the raw personal data on there?
Essentially, yes. It's a potential game changer for privacy on immutable ledgers. Alongside that, there's a push for better on-chain auditability designing contracts, so you can trace how decisions were made after the fact, like a forensic trail, without necessarily compromising all the private data.
So tools like bias auditing, ZKPs, better audit trails, these sound promising.
They are, but they're still just tools. Their effectiveness, their ethical use, it all comes down to human responsibility.
Yeah.
Diligent oversight, wise governance. They aren't magic bullets. You still need conscious ethical design and ongoing monitoring.
Right. The tech doesn't solve the human element. So summing up this ethical minefield, what are the key takeaways for someone trying to navigate this?
Okay, key ethical takeaways. First, always be hyper-aware of potential bias in that black box logic. Don't assume fairness. Second, demand transparency and explainability. If an AI decision affects you, you should have a right to understand why. Third, individual rights, especially privacy and data control, are non-negotiable. Respect them. And think beyond just efficiency. Consider the broader societal impacts on jobs, on equity, on communities. Remember, the technology itself is neutral. It's how we shape it, monitor it, and govern it that determines whether it's used for good or ill.
Okay, that's a lot to chew on regarding the ethics. But now, how do you actually regulate something like this, especially when it's global, decentralized, sometimes without a clear owner?
The regulation puzzle. It's complex, it's moving fast, and frankly, the laws are often playing catch-up. Let's dive into that landscape, starting globally and then drilling down into the U.S.
Because there's no single global rulebook for this stuff.
Not even close. Unlike, say, international trade law, there's no unified global treaty for AI or smart contracts. It's too new, too borderless, ownership is often murky, and different countries have vastly different priorities. So you get this complex global patchwork of approaches.
But some regions are taking the lead.
Definitely. The European Union has really stepped up with the EU AI Act. It's genuinely landmark stuff, the world's first comprehensive AI law. And it's setting a major precedent globally.
What's the core idea behind the EU AI Act?
Its main innovation is a risk-based approach. It categorizes AI systems based on their potential risk to fundamental rights and safety. So, things deemed high-risk AI in critical infrastructure, hiring, lending, law enforcement, healthcare face really strict rules.
In strict means? What exactly?
We're talking mandatory technical documentation, strong transparency requirements, compulsory human oversight, robust data governance, and crucially, this isn't just guidance. It has serious teeth.
Penalties.
Significant financial penalties. Non-compliance can cost companies up to 7% of their global annual revenue, or 35 million euros, whichever is higher. That gets boardrooms listening. It shows how seriously the EU is taking this. It's a major wake-up call for any company operating there.
Okay, so the EU is going comprehensive and risk-based. What about other major players? China.
China's approach is also quite stringent, but with a different focus. They have tough requirements for algorithm transparency, but is heavily geared towards national security and state control. Lots of detailed government oversight, different priorities around data access.
And then you mentioned places like Singapore.
Singapore's been a real pioneer with regulatory sandboxes.
Sandboxes. Explain those again. It sounds like a playground.
It kind of is, in a controlled way. Think of it as a safe, temporary space where companies can test out new AI or smart contract innovations under the watchful eye of regulators.
So the tech gets tested and the regulators learn.
Exactly. Innovators get to experiment with cutting-edge stuff. Regulators learn about the real-world implications in real time, all without exposing the general public to massive risk right away. It helps fast-track legal clarity while safeguarding consumers. A very smart, adaptive approach.
And are other places adopting this sandbox idea?
Oh yeah, it's catching on globally. You see similar initiatives in Brazil, France, Kenya, even some US states like Utah. Each place adapts it, but the core idea, a safe space for innovation and learning, is spreading.
Okay, let's pivot to the US then. You said it's different from the EU's unified approach.
Very different. The key thing to grasp about the US is there's no single overarching federal law for AI or smart contracts right now. It's much more fragmented.
Fragmented how?
You've got a mix of things. Executive orders from the White House, specific guidelines from federal agencies like the FTC or SEC for their domains, and then this incredibly diverse and constantly changing landscape of state laws. It's less a single strategy, more organic growth, maybe.
And the current federal direction?
The most recent executive order from January 2025 definitely leans towards deregulation. It talks about removing barriers to AI innovation, tells agencies to get rid of red tape, and strongly promotes those regulatory sandboxes and centers of excellence to speed up AI development.
So the federal focus is more on boosting innovation, less on setting hard rules.
That seems to be the emphasis, yeah. Pushing competitiveness, leaving a lot of the detailed ethical guardrails and consumer protection to existing laws or state action, though there is some targeted federal stuff.
Like what?
Well, there's the Take It Down Act, aimed at tackling AI-generated deepfakes, and some sector-specific guidelines around privacy or national security in certain industries. But honestly, for the really detailed ground-level rules on AI and smart contracts, right now a lot of the action is happening at the state level.
And that's where it gets interesting or complicated.
Both. This is where the real legal experimentation is happening. Take Colorado. They passed what's arguably the most comprehensive state-level AI law in the U.S. so far.
What does Colorado's law do?
It specifically targets high-risk AI and smart contract uses. It mandates things like detailed risk management plans before you deploy, impact assessments, clear disclosure to consumers if AI is making a high-stakes decision about them, and even gives people a right to appeal those automated decisions. Very consumer-focused.
Okay, so Colorado is quite proactive. What about other states? California?
California, always a tech regulation leader, is focusing heavily on transparency, especially for the big generative AI models. They're looking at rules requiring clear disclosures like digital watermarks on AI content and tools for users to easily identify AI-generated stuff.
And Texas. I imagine they're different again.
You bet. Texas is very pro-innovation, minimal regulation. They mostly ban only the really obvious bad uses of AI, like certain types of fraud, and they offer legal safe harbors through sandboxes to encourage development. Much more hands-on.
And Utah, you mentioned them earlier with sandboxes.
Utah's taking a very minimalist approach to disclosure. Basically, AI only needs to be declared if someone specifically asks, or if it's used in regulated professions like law or medicine, where disclosure is already expected.
Wow. So Colorado, California, Texas, Utah, all doing different things. What does that mean for a company trying to operate nationwide?
It means headaches. Big ones. Imagine deploying an AI-driven smart contract across the U.S. What's perfectly fine and legal in Texas might require major disclosures and impact assessments in Colorado, and maybe specific transparency labels in California.
That sounds incredibly complex to manage.
It is. It demands serious legal agility and constant monitoring. A contract legal in one state could be problematic in the next. It's a compliance nightmare, navigating this shifting legal minefield state by state.
And that's just within the U.S. What happens when these contracts cross international borders?
Then the complexity ramps up exponentially. Think about data protection. A legal dispute involving an AI contract could easily span multiple countries.
Each with its own rules on enforcement, privacy, consent.
Exactly. You could have a contract started in the U.S. involving someone in Europe with data processed on a server in Asia. Which laws apply? How do you enforce judgments? It's an international legal maze.
And that brings us back to the GDPR conflict, doesn't it? The European privacy rules versus the way blockchains work.
It's a fundamental clash. GDPR gives users strong rights: access, correction, deletion, the right not to be solely subject to automated decisions. Standard blockchains offer immutability data permanence. They just don't align.
If your personal health data is on an immutable chain as part of a smart contract,
that GDPR right to be forgotten becomes almost technically impossible to fulfill. It's a massive challenge.
But you mentioned developers are working on this, trying to find ways around it.
They are, absolutely. People are exploring solutions. Things like storing sensitive personal data off-chain so it's not permanently on the blockchain itself, just referenced, using strong encryption, making data pseudonymous so it's not directly identifiable.
And those zero-knowledge proofs you mentioned?
Yes. ZKPs are a key part of the toolkit, allowing verification without revealing the raw data. These are all ongoing efforts to try and bridge that gap between privacy needs and blockchain realities.
But it sounds like there's no perfect fix yet.
Not really. Full compliance across this fragmented, evolving global landscape is still incredibly complex, often expensive to implement these advanced techniques, and it's a moving target as both the tech and the laws mature. It's not a settled issue by any means.
So the big regulatory takeaway here seems to be uncertainty.
Pretty much. Despite the promise of automated certainty, AI-driven smart contracts are operating in a sea of legal ambiguity. For companies, it means constant vigilance, knowing what's legal where and knowing that it could change next month. It's a huge challenge for legal and compliance teams.
Okay, so we've laid out the ethical tightrope and mapped the regulatory maze. Now, the really practical question, how do you actually do this? How do you innovate with this powerful tech without falling foul of the law or ethical principles?
This is the crucial part, isn't it? How do we balance it all? For a long time, the thinking was it's a trade-off. Move fast and break things, or be cautious and fall behind.
But you're saying that's changing.
I think it is. What we're seeing from forward-thinking companies and even some regulators is a realization that innovation and compliance don't have to be opposites. It is possible, maybe even essential, to do both well.
Okay, so it's not either. How do companies actually achieve that? What are the practical strategies emerging?
Well, strategy number one is getting serious about proactive governance and risk management internally.
Meaning?
Leading companies think Microsoft, Unilever, SAP, names like that aren't just waiting for rules to be imposed. They're building robust internal frameworks specifically for AI and smart contracts. This isn't just ticking boxes.
What does it involve? Setting up committees?
Often, yes. Establishing dedicated responsible AI boards or ethics councils. These usually bring together people from legal, tech, ethics, business lines. Their job is to oversee AI development and deployment.
And what do these boards actually oversee? What's the process?
They guide things like regular, rigorous AI audits and risk assessments. Not just once, but continuously, looking for potential bias, security flaws, compliance gaps before they cause problems. It's about prevention.
Makes sense. Catching issues early.
Exactly. And making ethics training mandatory for developers, engineers, anyone involved. So ethical thinking is baked in from the start, not just an afterthought. Embedding responsibility into the whole development lifecycle.
So these aren't just talking shops, they're leading to actual best practices.
Yes. Things like transparent model documentation, clearly explaining how an AI works, what data it used, building in explainability so decisions aren't just black boxes, having feedback loops to learn and improve. And many are adopting recognized standards, like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework from the U.S. government, as a guide.
Okay, so internal governance is key. What's strategy number 2?
Strategy number 2 is embracing those regulatory sandboxes we talked about. They are proving to be such a valuable tool for this balancing act.
The safe playground idea again. How does it help companies innovate and comply?
Because it lets them test truly novel ideas. Maybe a radical new type of smart contract in a real-world setting, but with that regulatory safety net. The regulators are watching, learning alongside them.
So it speeds up getting clarity on the rules for new tech.
Precisely. Regulators understand the tech better. Innovators understand the regulatory concerns better. It helps fast-track legal clarity while protecting consumers from untested risks. We've seen it work well in places like Brazil, Singapore, the EU, Utah. It fosters that collaborative learning.
Got it. Strategy 3.
Strategy 3 is foundational, privacy by design. This means building privacy considerations in right from the very beginning of designing any AI-driven smart contract system. Can't be an add-on.
What does privacy by design look like technically?
It means things like integrating strong encryption from day one, using that off-chain storage for sensitive personal data so it doesn't live forever on the blockchain, having really clear, user-friendly consent mechanisms, and critically, designing the smart contract code itself to be flexible enough for future updates.
Flexible. But aren't smart contracts supposed to be immutable?
The core logic often is, but you need ways to update algorithms or parameters if laws change or if you discover a bias. So building in that adaptability, that ability to adjust if needed, is crucial foresight. It's about designing for change, even within these systems.
Okay, flexibility is key. What's next? Strategy 4.
Strategy 4 is about breaking down silos internally, cross-functional collaboration. You absolutely cannot have the AI developers working in one corner and the legal team in another and operations somewhere else, never talking.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is, especially when things are moving this fast. You need regular communication, shared understanding between the tech teams, compliance, legal, operations, even marketing. Legal needs to be involved early, not just at the end. Everyone needs to understand the risks and requirements.
Because the tech and the rules are both changing constantly.
Exactly. Integrated teams can spot issues and adapt much faster. It's about making responsible innovation everyone's job.
Makes sense. Strategy 5.
Unwavering transparency and continuous monitoring. It's not enough to build it right. You have to keep checking it. This means using automation where possible to continuously scan for discriminatory outcomes, weird patterns, security issues while the contracts are live.
So not just audits before launch, but ongoing vigilance.
Absolutely. Regular internal checks, independent third-party security audits, dynamic updates to code and algorithms. These are becoming standard practice, especially for high-stakes contracts in finance or healthcare, where the cost of failure is just too high. Continuous monitoring builds and maintains trust.
And this ties into company culture too, presumably.
Hugely. Strategy, let's call it 5.5, is fostering a culture of responsibility, empowering employees to actually flag ethical concerns, to challenge assumptions, to work on solutions, not hide problems.
Leadership has to set that tone, right?
Critically, leaders need to model this, champion it, make it clear that ethical considerations and compliance are core values, not just obstacles.
Okay, nearly there. Strategy 6.
Strategy 6 is about staying current, embracing new tools and professional certifications. The field is evolving so fast, you need ways to keep up.
Like specific training.
Yes, we're seeing specialized certification programs emerge, like AI plus Ethics TM. They're designed specifically to help managers, developers, legal teams understand and anticipate these complex ethical and compliance risks associated with AI and smart contracts.
So they provide practical skills, not just theory.
Right. Frameworks for identifying risks, strategies for mitigation, and importantly, these certifications also give organizations a way to show their commitment to responsible AI, to customers, to regulators. It helps build that crucial trust.
Okay, so putting all those strategies together, what's the short version for listeners?
The short version is, balancing innovation and compliance isn't magic. It requires being proactive about risk, embedding ethics from the start, collaborating across teams, monitoring continuously, fostering the right culture, and constantly learning.
And the payoff isn't just avoiding fines.
No, the payoff is building genuine trust with users, customers, regulators, companies that master this balance, that are seen as reliable and ethical. They're the ones likely to outperform in the long run. But
Always a but.
it's an ever-moving target. What's compliant today might need adjusting tomorrow. So that ongoing dialogue within companies and between industry and regulators is absolutely vital. It's a continuous journey.
A journey indeed. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the main takeaway is pretty stark, isn't it? AI-powered smart contracts aren't just some future tech. They are here now, actively reshaping things like fairness, privacy, our legal system.
Absolutely. The big questions we've wrestled with today: Bias, accountability, privacy, responsible innovation. These aren't just academic exercises. They're about the world you, me, everyone listening will be living and working in very soon, if not already.
And because of that, we genuinely want to hear from you, our listeners. Is there a specific ethical issue or legal scenario with AI contracts that keeps you up at night in your industry? Have you seen them making things better or maybe more complicated?
Please share your experiences. Reach out. Go to our website, comment on social media, rate and review this deep dive wherever you get your podcasts. Your insights really help us keep this vital conversation moving forward and shape what we explore next.
And speaking of moving forward, if you're thinking about how to implement some of this in your own organization, we've put together a resource. It's a best practices checklist. Think of it as a cheat sheet for smart, ethical AI adoption.
It pulls together a lot of the strategies we discussed today. It's available right now on our website. You can download it, share it with your team, maybe use it to start some of those crucial internal conversations.
Definitely check that out. And before you head off, make sure you're subscribed because you won't want to miss our next deep dive.
Ooh, what have we got lined up?
We're going into the case files, real-world examples where AI-driven smart contracts have worked brilliantly, delivering amazing results, and, well, other cases where things went spectacularly wrong. Success stories, the cautionary tales, the hard lessons learned from the front lines.
Sounds fascinating. Learning from both the wins and the failures.
Exactly. So thank you so much for joining us for this critical and I think really timely conversation today.
Yes, thank you.
Remember to subscribe, share this with anyone you think needs to hear it, and keep in mind that true sustainable innovation and that unwavering accountability, they really have to go hand in hand.
Always.
We'll see you next time.
1, 2.